Max stood in front of the mirror, craning his neck to see his reflection. One day, he thought, I'll look even taller. He grinned at himself, a spark of mischief in his eyes, dreaming of all the adventures ahead. With a quick tug, Max pulled his hoodie over his head, hoping to look tough. But ended up looking adorably awkward. Max reached for the high shelf, his hand just shy of the target. Almost there. He stretched on his tiptoes, trying his best to reach, his determination growing by the second. A small stool appeared next to him, almost as if the universe itself was rooting for him. Max climbed onto the stool, his face lighting up with triumph as he finally got closer to his goal. His fingers brushed against the snack he wanted. Success at last. Holding his hard-won prize, Max struck a proud pose, his victory never tasting so sweet. With a sneaky glance around, Max dug into his snack, savoring every bite. At school, Max stood confidently among his taller classmates, determined to make his mark. Holding a basketball that seemed to swallow his hands, Max readied himself for the big shot. The ball bounced off the rim, tapping him lightly on the head as he blinked in surprise. Max just shrugged it off with a smile. No point in letting one missed shot ruin his day. Passing by a giant trophy case, Max couldn't help but stare, imagining the day he'd win one too. In his mind, he could already see himself holding that trophy, shining brighter than ever. Back at home, Max stood by his tall dad, who ruffled his hair affectionately, making him feel like a kid. He slipped his feet into his dad's enormous shoes, wobbling as he tried to walk like a grown-up. When his mom handed him a bowl of spaghetti, Max's eyes widened. So much food for someone his size. He dove into the meal with gusto, pasta sauce smearing across his face. His little sister wrapped her arms around him in a tight hug, and though embarrassed, he hugged her back. On the sofa, Max's legs dangled as he relaxed, engrossed in a funny TV show. He flipped channels, giggling at a cartoon that seemed to understand his own quirky sense of humor. In his imagination, Max stood tall, a heroic superhero with a flowing cape, ready to save the day. He dashed around his room, his arms outstretched like an airplane, soaring through the skies in his mind. Max swooped down to rescue his stuffed animal, holding it up like a true champion. In his dream world, he dodged lasers and obstacles, bravery shining in his eyes. He imagined himself scaling a tall mountain, each step bringing him closer to victory. At the summit, Max raised his arms triumphantly, proud of his imaginary feat. Back in reality, he smiled shyly, still clutching his stuffed animal, happy with his mini-adventure. He struck a hero's pose, imagining himself in the movies, basking in imaginary applause. Max marched out of his room, chest puffed out, feeling like a true superhero in his own little world. Outside, Max looked up at a tree and grinned, feeling an adventurous itch. He started climbing, gripping branches tightly, though he barely got off the ground. Perched on the first branch, he looked around like he was on top of the world. Max pointed into the distance, imagining he'd spotted something exciting. A small bird landed beside him, and he froze, amazed at his new feathery friend. Carefully, he reached out to pet the bird, but it flew away, leaving him laughing. Max chuckled to himself, happy for the unexpected little moment. He found a large leaf, setting it atop his head like a makeshift forest crown. Humming to himself, Max skipped down the path, feeling lighthearted and free. He saw a small puddle ahead, and though he tried to jump over, he ended up splashing in. At the school talent show, Max peeked out from backstage, feeling a twinge of nervousness. With a brave step forward, Max faced the crowd, determined to shine. He started juggling, his small hands deftly moving objects in the air. The crowd clapped, and Max couldn't help but smile, enjoying the spotlight. He struck a dramatic pose, savoring every cheer and clap from his classmates. Waving to the audience, Max felt a burst of happiness at the crowd's support. Backstage, his friends high-fived him, their faces lighting up with admiration. Max sits at his desk, daydreaming. In his mind, Max is a famous singer, holding a microphone. Max imagines a crowd cheering as he sings into the microphone. He snaps back to reality, laughing at himself. Max picks up a broom and pretends it's a sword. He imagines himself as a knight, defending his kingdom. Max makes dramatic sword fighting moves, looking fierce. Max stood under a big tree, looking up at the twinkling stars, feeling proud of his journey. In his heart, he imagined himself as a hero, standing tall, brave, and ready for anything. He closed his eyes and made a wish, hoping for more laughter, friends, and fun. As he opened his eyes, Max felt a warm glow of happiness fill him from head to toe. He took a step forward, looking down the path ahead, feeling ready for whatever came next. With a grin, Max looked back over his shoulder, giving a final cheerful wave to the world. He struck one last victorious pose, feeling like the king of his own little world. As he faded into the distance, Max's proud smile remained, leaving a lasting memory of his joyful spirit.